WFH with two guys. Now here's Benny and Dennis.
Organization has always been a difficult thing for me to master, Dennis. And within a company and having people work within my business is kind of a little bit of a challenge. I don't know. I think you're much more organized and you have a lot of processes. You're a processes guy. How's that work in your world?
Yeah, so my side, it's the process side I get. Sometimes it's the soft skills or the human skills
Mm.
that sometimes maybe I'm not as strong at as I should be, and it causes me as a business owner to do things that I probably should delegate or hand off to other people. And so today we've got Nathan King joining us. And Benny, Nathan is with what organization again? You want to share that
King
information?
Strategic Consulting.
And so, Nathan is an expert in this whole arena about process and people and strategy. And today we delve into just that focus on how leadership and human skills and all this kind of play into helping you be successful as the owner, business manager, but more importantly, how your company can be successful. And I think the conversation that we have, it's very enlightening, very eye-opening, and makes you think about some things that you might be able to do differently.
The age old questions of I've got too much work or I've got employees or some folks that they don't pull their weight. This is the type of stuff that really Nathan is able to answer, and he gives us a really good insight into what we should be prioritizing and how we should be looking at our work. This is a really good one. I really enjoyed talking to Nathan. Dennis, I know that when I started my business a number of years ago, the thing that I really didn't have any lack of confidence in was the ability to do the work. I knew what type of skill set I was able to bring to the table, and I had the knowledge of my industry. But the things when I left the corporate world and started my own business was really about organization. It was about systems and processes, and I really didn't have a whole lot of that. But how were you when you
Yeah,
started your
similar. I
business?
mean, I again had lots of different backgrounds, and mine was I was probably more process driven, but maybe not didn't have some of the people skill sets. Or a lot of times it was easier just for me to do stuff myself instead of trying to delegate. Or I was at a larger company and I had people I could delegate, and now I've started this business, and it's me and maybe one or two people, and it's it was hard to delegate. So I think we all come at it from different angles and different backgrounds and different experiences, but there's we all can learn better and how to be more effective. Yeah, so today we've got Nathan King joining us. And so Nathan and I go back. We used to be work at Healthways together, and we are actually business partners for a while, and Nathan was a customer, and then we've worked together on different things and stuff. So Nathan, welcome.
Well, thank you, Dennis. It's good to be with you, Benny. It's good to be with you as well, and to
Thanks
talk
for
about this
coming.
topic. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about that. If some of us who have actually had companies for a little while and we have employees, and the systems that we've kind of developed or the systems that are in place, I've learned that that can be actually not necessarily the best way of doing things, and there can be holdups. And when it comes to actually processes within a company, how should we be thinking about that? Would you tell me a little? Actually, you tell me, Nathan. How should we be thinking about this? Look at this. I'm all over the place right now. How am I supposed to get my business organized?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the reality. We are all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And when I work with clients and leadership teams, what I see from them is that they desire to have an impact on something. They want to do something noteworthy with their careers and therefore their companies. And they want to create obviously some financial upside for themselves. So they're looking for the ability to create success. And then many of them, not all, but many, also want others to be able to benefit. That could simply be a customer, but it's employees. You want them to have the opportunity to learn and to grow. So those are the things we want. But then we find ourselves thrown into this mix where we find we're in the weeds. We're getting inbound with problems. We're fighting fires. We're in meetings all day long. When we think we should be working on strategy, we don't have any energy left because we've given it all to to resolving these problems. And then the question is, what pulls us into into the situation when we're in the weeds and we're not actually pursuing the things that led us to the business in the first place? So that's kind of the challenge that I think most people struggle with. And the question is, how do you find your way out of that mess?
That is the question. Today my wife was looking at my calendar and she says you need to fire your secretary, and I said I am my secretary because it's back to back to back to back meetings, and it's like, why did I do this to myself? And it's like, and it happens so easily because, to your point, you want to satisfy people, you want to make sure everything's okay, but then you don't delegate, and so it's like you get inundated, and the next thing you know you're tired.
Right. And for that situation, Dennis, because it can be a number of factors. I mean, you can't narrow it. I mean, if you could reduce it all down to a single factor, then it wouldn't really be an issue. We would have figured out how to solve it. But when I hear that situation, I love your example because I'm in back to back. How did I do this to myself? That's a great example. I think probably every listener can relate to that. I certainly can relate to that. I'm sure Benny can relate to that as well.
Hmm.
But when I hear you talk about that, the questions that pop up in my mind is, well, was it we were overconfident? Daniel Kahneman, the late psychologist who wrote Thinking Fast and Slow, he talks about the planning fallacy, where we think we can do more in a given period of time than we actually can. So that's one way to end up overscheduled is you say, oh, sure, 3 weeks ago, it seemed like you could knock all of that out today, but now you're facing today and you realize that it's a much more daunting situation. So that's one possibility is that we underestimate the effort that we're committing to. The second is, well, why didn't we delegate this? And um, the question also is, can I really trust this person to do it the way that I want it to be done? And so, if your meeting is to review the project plan that someone else is technically responsible for, do you really need to be there? And oftentimes, the question is answered by saying, do you trust the person? And when we don't fully trust the person, we think we have to be there just to make sure that things go well. Because what happens if the person makes a decision or avoids a decision or doesn't prioritize appropriately, and then there's egg on my face later on? We want to make sure that we're not in that situation because that's complicated and messy. So maybe if we attend and we participate, then we'll prevent it. So the question in that situation is, how do you make sure that you're comfortable trusting someone to carry the torch so that you can then go focus on what you are most skilled and talented at being able to do?
We've heard that the term, I've heard it since I was a kid, but the idea of working smarter, not harder. Is this really what prioritization is? Is this what you're talking about from actually looking at the way that the work is done and the way I should be thinking about not only my day, but my business and life in general? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I think prioritization is a huge challenge. And if you step back and think about it, the most helpful in human history, the most helpful way to prioritize is to have constraints. And 100 years ago, the constraints were, well, we didn't have television. Travel was very expensive, so I couldn't just jump on a plane and end up in Dallas for a meeting and then be home for dinner tonight. There was obviously no internet, and there these all of these technology advancements have reduced constraints, which means we can say yes to more, but we don't, the only thing that we don't have more of is time. And so our appetites now have less constraints, and we're pursuing more than we actually can achieve. And then we say yes because we think, well, what will I lose if I say no? If I say no to this, the marketing campaign for this new product in favor of stabilizing the product I already have, then I might make less money. So let's do both. It's almost like a risk management strategy, but it takes courage to choose the one and let the other become a secondary concern. But that in reality, that's actually what helps us to be more effective is to go all in on one thing, and bring that to its fruition.
As you're talking, and Dennis will, and anyone who's ever listened to this podcast knows that I'm a big a lover of AI and what all things AI, right? Um, and I'm curious, what's your viewpoint on AI and how would that help us with processes and developing systems and even from a level of I want to talk about expertise and how we look at that and how we should be looking at AI as a tool, or is it something that we should be am I looking at this completely wrong? So what are your thoughts on that, Nathan?
My first thought on AI is it makes technical expertise or expertise in general less of a premium.
Mm,
A lot of people who run businesses or who are in leadership positions got there by carefully cultivating a sense of expertise in a particular topic. It could be coding, could be finance, it could be an industry area, it could be um, obesity management that led to the rise of a healthcare company.
yeah.
Any of those things could give a leg up for someone. If you have expertise in that, then you're more likely to be successful. AI makes expertise less necessary. And that's a good thing because it gives access to knowledge to more people. But it also means your expertise can be delegated to people who are smart, critical thinkers, but can also leverage AI to support it. What that means from my purview is that for a leader, the important focus should be less on the technical, what we've traditionally called hard skills, the ability to analyze, the ability to code, the ability um, to create Excel spreadsheet models, and the premium now goes to what we've traditionally called the soft skills. And I don't know even who to attribute it to, but someone has suggested a better term for soft skills because soft implies weak, somehow less important than hard skills.
Hmm.
But that's actually not the case. Soft skills are human skills, and our ability to motivate a team, to engage someone and bringing their full mindset to our company and what we're trying to build, that's now the premium. So the leader who's focused on technical expertise or industry domain knowledge is going to lose out to the leader who's able to master human skills, attract the best talent, and find a way to mobilize them, inspire them, motivate them, and equip them to go forth and multiply the impact of the company.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, the use of AI really it is enhancing business and bringing us knowledge maybe that was at a premium or unreachable for us in the past, but the individuals who utilize AI and are also able to humanize that and put the pieces that a machine will never be able to replace. Those are the things that people are that seek as valuable today.
Yeah, Benny, you're exactly right. And we all remember 15 years ago when the iPhone came out. I guess it was more than 15 years ago. And pretty soon everyone was making this somewhat humorous comment. There's an app for that. But I think we're entering an era now where we're going to be able to say there's an AI for that, which makes the app concept even seem quaint by comparison in terms of the power of what it can do. So moving um, moving our leadership focus to cultivating human skills, and also I would add mindset skills are the most important thing. And by mindset, what I would say is, um, all of us have what you might call inner interference, fears, distractions, um, interactive flaws or quirks that limit us in some way. Maybe we're too pessimistic, or maybe we are not wired to trust people in a very effective way. Those hold us back. Those hold our teams back. And so, if we can get our mindsets, if we can focus on cultivating our mindsets to reduce that inner interference and develop the human skills to allow us to better equip, inspire, motivate our teams, then that is what's going to differentiate the leader and the entrepreneur and the business owner in the
And
next
Nathaniel, I
generation,
mean,
for sure.
and I think we all were talking before we started recording this, but for the listener, just give them some bullet points of what are some of the human skills. I mean, I think we all kind of know them, but it's what are some of those that just kind of come top of mind?
Yeah. So humans are we are we approach change in a problematic way. We're afraid of it. We don't know how to navigate it. And when there is the need for change inside of an organization, it becomes very complex. Some people are on board instantly, but a lot of people just have challenges with that. So, managing change by building trust, by eliciting feedback from others, by negotiating the conflicts that come out of that. That would be an arena of human skills in and of themselves. The ability to delegate would be another human skill. So, how do I reach comfort that I can give you this task and allow for you to go and do it so that you have a sense of autonomy, because you don't want me breathing down your neck every 5 minutes asking you if it's done. That's going to backfire. But and I don't want to do it myself, because if it comes to, let's say we want to write a social media post for the business, if I'm the CEO of the business, is that the best use of my time to be reviewing social media content and maybe even drafting it myself? Or should I be giving that to the 25-year-old who's got outstanding TikTok skills and a sensibility for what's going to resonate with the marketplace? But if I don't have the ability to trust others, then I'm going to probably try to do that myself, which is going to make it a lesser outcome. So how do I make sure that I've given something to a 25-year-old or whatever functional level I need to delegate the task to, and then allow them to go and perform and then come back and report results to me. That's another crucial
And to,
example of
and a lot
human
of times,
skills.
if you're a manager, you may have people to delegate to. If you're a business owner, you may not have anyone, but you've got 1099s. And so, the example of the social media,
Yeah.
maybe you need to hire somebody as a 1099 that works for you to just to do that social media types of things that you can offload those things to Nathan's point, so you can focus on what you really are good at. The other one that kind of comes to mind is just that whole relationship thing, where because I think back, I remember I've worked many different companies. Lots of people get promoted because of the hard skills. That they're a great engineer and they can design bridges really well, but they have no people skills. And they get to that manager level and they work really hard, but they have lots of turnover, or people hate working for this person. To me, that's kind of is that kind of what you're talking about, where the world's going to change probably because that AI is going to help you design that bridge better potentially. The leader is going to have those people skills to motivate the team to build the best bridge possible.
Exactly, Dennis. I think that's such a great example. If I'm a bridge builder, AI is going to allow me to offload some percentage of my time. It could be 10% of my time. Eventually, it could be 50% of my time. So, what am I going to do with that time? I'm going to have to navigate strategic choices about how to spend my time, what I'm going to say yes to, and I'm going to have to navigate how do I equip my team and motivate them to contribute and focus on the the possibilities that our business is facing. So that's
And the
exactly what
outcome is,
I'm referring to.
I believe, for the workers that are underneath that manager, they're going to be happier workers. They're going to be more productive because now you're focused on those human skills and not all the tactical stuff. Because nobody wants to work for someone that's a taskmaster. Someone wants to work for you want to work for people that encourage you, guide you, give you direction, but then get out of the way and let you be successful. I was reading, I have a thing that pops up every morning, and it says failing is great. And because if you fail, hopefully you learn from it and then you can learn how to be better at it. And so many managers don't want anyone ever to fail. They want everything to be perfect. And it's like you have to have some failure to learn to grow. And if you're that safety net for those employees, they never grow. They never learn. That's why you can't delegate.
Yeah. It's true, Dennis. Like we've worked in non-human capacities, like more business-focused capacities. And so we both know rationally, at a rational level, that we have to be willing to take risks. And if you're going to try anything, there's a probability continuum where you could fail, you might not. And so with that in mind, you know that not everything you take on can be successful and you must take risks. I mean, I think that's an exactly correct point. It gets complicated pretty quickly, though. I mean, just borrowing from psychology here. What if in your family of origin, your parents communicated that it was completely unacceptable for you to fail ever? Well, that's going to bring a level of intensity the way you manage team. What if you're not even aware of that? That's now we're getting into emotional intelligence. And how are you going to think about becoming aware of what's holding you back so that you get that inner interference out and then more effectively persuade people to come along with you?
Hey Nathan, this is a really good topic, and I love the conversation that we've had so far. But it occurred to me that people listening out here, and certainly with me, where do we start? As a business owner or a business driver, where am I starting to kind of get all of this kind of put into an action plan? What do I need to be doing? What should I? Where's the first thing I should be doing?
It's a great question, Benny. I would point to three high level categories. When I work with the businesses, I assess them in these three categories. The first is well, all of this is in the context that you're inside of a human system. Any company is comprised of people, so we're thinking about how are we working with people to deliver value to our customers. So number one is have you created and communicated and continuously communicate a crystal clear vision for your team? Like, what are we delivering? What is the outcome we create for the world? How is the world different because we are there? And there's a number of things you need to do there to cultivate that, but ultimately that results in empowering your team. The second area that I assess a company on is how are you at achieving powerful execution? Do you have clear measures in place for it to be successful? Do you have a mechanism to prioritize with your team and revisit prioritization with your team? And then the third area that I assess is how well is the team doing in building essentially, I'll call it a flywheel. That's from Jim Collins. He wrote a book called Good to Great where he popularized that. But that is essentially the short way to define that is how are you doing building the momentum that you no longer have to manually redo everything. So you've got processes and scale in place so that you can move your team to focus on new issues and not be so focused on revisiting and manually solving the issues that you once did a month, a year, 3 years ago.
Wow, this is such a great topic. I think we need to have you come back on the show here, Nathan. There's just so many other questions that I had, and I think
Well, it's
that
been fun to talk to you, Benny and Dennis. So I would love to have another conversation.
absolutely. But in the meantime, I know some of the audience members out there are going to have their own questions too as well. And so, what would be the best way for people to get in touch with you? How could they get a hold of you, Nathan?
Yeah, best way to find me, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So just head over to LinkedIn and search for Nathan King, and you'll find me there. And then just for your listeners, if it's of interest to them, you can reach out to me there and send me a DM. And if you're mention the podcast, and I'd be happy to do a 1 hour strategy map session with you and just talk about where you are in your business, what you need to accomplish, and maybe sort through what some positive outcomes could be for you to focus on in the future.
That, that's a great offer. I mean, listeners, I mean, I've worked with Nathan a long time, and I mean, you'll get a lot out of that 1 hour. So I would encourage you to reach out to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Nathan, can't thank you enough for stopping by today. We really appreciate it. Learned a lot, took a lot of notes, but thanks so much for enlightening me and the audience.
Yeah, well, thank you, Benny. It was good to be with you and Dennis today.
Well, Dennis, that's another podcast in the can. I know that a lot of you all want to know how to get in touch with us. Dennis, what's the best way for folks to be able to get a hold of you?
Yeah, email's by far the best for me. It's Dennis J, so DENNISJ at worksolution.com. And that's WORX solution, no S at the end, so solution.com. Benny, how about you?
Yeah, same thing. Get a hold of me. My email address is benny@velocitytechnology.group. That's BENNY at velocitytechnology.group. Also, for me and Dennis, you can find us on LinkedIn. Look for us on LinkedIn. Work from home with two guys is on LinkedIn. And we also have a website, WFH with two guys.com. Look us up. You'll find all the past episodes and some little bits of information that maybe we don't get a chance to talk to on the podcast. We put it out there too as well.
And definitely share us with your friends and people in your network.
Absolutely. Let us know what we can do to make this podcast your podcast. Give us some ideas. If you'd like to be a guest, let us know. We'll talk to you guys soon.
You've been listening to WFH with Two Guys. We'll see you next time.